Thanks everyone for coming today. So, as I say, what we're doing is recording the session. People will be able to access the information who can't make it today. Many of you will know Ian, who's worked with Time Bank UK for many a year, if not decade or more. And he's going to lead today's session on passporting, which enables you to consider networking your time banks. So I'll hand over to Ian. I guess we want to keep the session informal, so if anyone has any questions as we go through, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll answer any queries. Over to you, Ian.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm more than happy to answer questions as they pop up, because if you're anything like me, you'll have forgotten them by the time question time comes around. But we will have time for questions at the end as well. So it's entirely up to you when you want to ask them. What is passporting? It's known by various other terms, but basically it is the ability for one time bank to trade with another, so that people from one time bank can see offers and requests from another time bank. One thing I would say though is, it is an all or nothing thing. So basically, if a time bank says, I want to share with another time bank, then, it is a case of everybody has the option to see what's being shared by that time bank, everybody from the second time bank. So, you have to just bear that in mind. The passporting is generally used by networks of time banks, although there is nothing stopping two individual time banks from opening up to each other. The actual passporting setup is done by TB UK. So they'll actually set the links between time banks so that they can share. But you do have the ability to sever a link at any time yourselves. The other thing people get worried about is the fact that, are all offers and requests shared to the other time bank? And the answer to that is no. Every individual has the option to share something with the other time bank or just keep it for their own time bank. So that is one thing that you should be aware of. It is the final say on whether an offer or a request is shared. It remains with the member themselves. Excuse me for 1 second. It's quite warm in here, so just going to have a quick. So what I will do is I'll show you the administrator side of it first. Well, actually, no, first thing I'll do is ask, has anybody got any questions about the idea of passporting, the fundamentals of it? If not, I'll go on to the next bit and showing you how it's set up on a time bank and how you can know if you're passported and who you're passported with. So if we've got no questions there, I shall lead on with sharing my screen. For this one, we have two time banks. We have the demo time bank, which is the one that we use for everybody can actually log on to and have a practice with. The other one I have is a test time bank that we've set up so that we can actually exchange between two time banks without having to set up a live time bank and go from there. So what we have here, this is a test time bank. You can tell what time bank we're on because this one actually has at the top black background for all of the information and everything, and the other one has a light one. We're going to be doing most of our work in the demo time bank with occasional jumps to the other one. Right, and if you logged in as an administrator, you can go to the time bank page and you can tell if you are in a passporting situation with another time bank by popping down to time banks. And that'll give you a list of all of the time banks that you as a member can see, sorry, as a administrator can see. So what you can then do is if you go to edit, sorry, I do apologize, not edit, it is links. So I'm so used to going to edit, it's scary. Yeah, so links, this will show you the links that you have with your particular time bank. So in this case, you've got Passport Test and TBUK Demo. So we've got links to those two particular time banks. So bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just going to go back to the member homepage. Yeah, we are on the demo time banks, that's fine. So yeah, that's how you can do it. So if you go to the control panel page, to time banks, and then you go to links, and you can see the links that your time bank is linked to. The reason on this particular one, you can see 2 time banks is because I'm actually set up on both of those time banks as an administrator so that I can actually do this demonstration for you. You'll only see the time banks that you're in control of, which is why you need Time Banking UK to set up the links, because it does involve, cooperation between 2 different types of people, 2 different time bank brokers. So that is how you can test it. And at any time, so let's go to the demo one this time, you can actually unlink a time bank just by clicking the unlink icon on the right hand side. You'll see one we've got here called David Test. So if I unlink that one, oh, sorry, yeah, I'm not actually an admin of that one, so that one would have to be done by TBUK at the moment, but there are plans afoot for you to be able to sever the links yourself. I'm a little bit out of the loop. I thought that had actually been done, but it hasn't yet. So yeah, when you click unlink, you can actually break the link between the 2 time banks. Okay, so what we can then do is, I have my little note here, bear with me. So what I'm going to do, so that is the only thing that you need to worry about as an administrator. What you can do, if you notice, bear with me for a second, I just need to create an offer or request. And now that we are linked as an admin, I have the ability to make this available to members of the following time banks. And you can see that there are, all 3 of them are listed there. So if I put a tick in that box there, then it means that particular offer or request will be broadcast to all of the time banks. That whole line is actually not there if you don't have passporting turned on with another time bank. So it's so you'll normally just get the one and it'll finish at description, and then you'll have all of the options there. And then the other thing what we'll show you is, I'm going to go to grid view because I find it easier. You can see this is a grid view of all of the time bank, the offers and requests in this time bank, and you can see that some of them have a little link at the bottom left hand corner, and that basically means this is a linked offer or request from another time bank. And you can still look at it in the same way, but it does say that it is posted from another time bank. So, and again, you can just do the usual things. You can just accept them, or and then go on with it.
So Ian, can I ask something actually? If the linked request or offer was changed, amended, would that would happen across all of the sites with which it's shared? You wouldn't have to do that three times.
No, it's basically, it is behind the scenes. There is just one record in the database. So if you change that one record, all 3 time banks will look at that one and they'll see the changes that are made to it. Yeah, so it is back just a unique instance for that particular exchange. So change it for one time bank, you change it for everybody. And once you've accepted it, and then you can go to, like any of the other stuff, my exchanges. We've actually put one in there now. I don't know if I've actually, how many exchanges I've got on here at the moment. My machine, this is not the fastest machine in the world, so it is running a bit slow at the moment. So I do apologize for that. I don't know if it's the machine or the internet. So this is the one here. And as you can see, it has got a link next to it that says this member belongs to a different time bank, but it shows all of the same things that you can do with your own exchanges in your own time bank. So you can complete exchanges, etc. So that is on the admin side. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is logging out of here. And I'm going to log in again, but just as a normal member, logging in as a standard member now. So this is how a normal member would log into the time bank, as you do for all of the normal ones. So what you can then do is have a look at the exchanges. We've put these extra buttons in just to make it easier to go through all of the different places. It's one of the things that you can do when you're setting up your time bank page, is create buttons to go to links to various pages on the system. But I think because I'm actually broadcasting as well as everything else, my internet's running a little bit slow. But before I go on to this side, does anybody have any questions about the admin side of things?
Hello, I'm Bobo from Hong Kong. I would like to ask how to count the time credit under a different time bank. Is it any constraints to do the passport exchange?
At the moment, the only limitation with the passporting is administrators can't create a passported exchange between the two time banks. Because an administrator normally only has access to one time bank, they can't go into another time bank, have a look at the members on that time bank and say, I want to do an exchange with that person, because it would sort of like, it's a gray area when it comes to data protection, that, you know, you being able to see the details from another time bank. So we've stopped that. So the only way you can actually see it is if someone says, yes, I want to allow members of these other time banks to see my name and see that I'm doing an exchange. So because the brokers from one time bank haven't signed all of the details from another time bank, and they do not automatically, because they're a broker, does not necessarily mean that they have access to the other time bank's data. So we haven't actually set up a way for a time bank broker to link, do an exchange between two different time banks. So that's the only limitation we've got with it. So you have to go through the process of putting an offer or a request up and having a member from the other time bank respond to it. Because that way they are, by doing those particular things, they are actually agreeing to having their name and a limited amount of data being seen by members of the other time bank.
So I would like to know that the passport exchange system is just for the same time bank, right?
Sorry, say that again.
So the system that existing is just for one time bank only within the same time bank. No.
The passporting it does allow exchanges between different time banks. So yeah, so it's if you're within the same time bank, it doesn't matter if you're passported or not. If you've got two members doing exchanges between, you know, themselves, it's only when you want members from different time banks to exchange with each other that is the time that when you'd actually use passporting. On a single time bank, you wouldn't need to worry about it. If you're it's generally for if you're part of a network, or if you have two time banks working on a similar project, then you can actually say, set up the passporting so that the information can be exchanged.
Oh, I see. Thank you for your explanation.
So can I ask in? So I understand the issues about data protection. So if an individual member has said that I want to share this request across the two time banks, will both brokers see that, or not?
Well, the brokers from the other time bank. So say I'm in my time bank. If I say I want to have a request that's shared out for everybody in the other time banks, then it is actually done from that particular time bank. So all of the information about that offer or request is controlled by the broker on the time bank the member is in. The broker on the other time bank, or the recipient time bank, will not be able to manage the exchange at all. They would have to get in contact. If there was an issue with it, they would have to get in contact with the broker from the time bank that was posting the offer or request. So yeah, otherwise, again, you get into the situation where allowing a broker from one time bank to, and I'm using the term in its loose one, interfere with data on another time bank, which is not really allowed. So yeah, the only time a broker from a second time bank can see an offer or request from the first time bank is once it's been posted. Okay, so any more questions on the brokerage side of things?
Hello, Ian. I'm Max from Hong Kong.
Hi, Max.
I wonder, how do the brokers they decided that, okay, let's link together? From a logical view, I guess all the brokers will link with all the time banks with time bank in UK. But I think in the actual situation, how do they decide, okay, who will I link with?
Right. Basically, linking is generally used, I'd say about 95% of the time, it would be used for networks of time banks. So if you have a local council who set up a network in their area, in their district, with multiple time banks, then those particular time banks would normally share with each other because they're all part of the same program. That's the normal time. But you could have two time banks that have been set up in close together, and as they grow and develop, they might have members in the areas for each other, each other's time banks. So what they might say is, okay, two ways we can do this. We could either merge the time banks, but the other way to do it, which is actually an extreme thing, just take it and create one time bank out of all of the members and everything, which is a lot of work, a lot of confusion for everybody. And also it can cause a few issues with when you get for funding and things like that. If a particular time bank's been funded to do a certain project and then they suddenly merge with another time bank, it can cause issues on things like that. So one of the other things they can say is, instead of merging, why don't we just sort of like open up to each other so that you can actually see each other's and work together. Anyway, you're doing time banking, it does take a bit of work and communication between the brokers of the time banks. Communication is key. Always talk to each other and always, agree on things. Put some sort of structure in place, have some sort of framework written down to say, this is how we're going to deal with things. If there's a problem, this is how we're going to deal with it. Always plan for the worst so that, if it ever does happen, God forbid it won't, but if anything does happen, then at least you've got something you can sort of like say, oh, okay, yep. So, yep, it was a member of your time bank. So, these are the instructions to follow. Oh, it's a member of our time bank. So we'll do the instructions and things like that. So at least you've got some way of moving forward if you have any issues. Or it could even be a minor issue, sort of like if one person has a problem with an exchange with a member of the other time bank, how would you deal with it? It's all that kind of thing. So it's just putting a little bit of, a few rules in place so that you've got it. So I would say just rocking up to another time bank and saying, would you like to sort of like passport with us? It's, I would say plan it out ahead beforehand so that you've got more organization, and if you do have members asking questions, everybody's giving the same responses and that. So yeah, most of the time it is going to be networks of time banks, so they'll already have the infrastructure in place. And then
in other words, they are normally in the same locality, the same geographical area.
Absolutely, yes.
Instead of like those in Birmingham may not really link with those in London, let's say.
Generally, the answer to that would be no, because, well, especially before the pandemic, most of the exchanges were one-to-one. As people actually going to each other and doing things together, kind of thing. Online, now that we do a lot more online stuff, it's not going to be so much of an issue. I mean, there's absolutely nothing stopping Birmingham and London sort of like merging together. They might have a similar project, or they might be doing something on a project with a national organization. And if they're doing that, and then most of the time you wouldn't be sharing most of your offers or requests. It would only be ones to do with that particular project where you'd actually share them. So yeah, I mean, but as you say, generally it is normally a local thing where people do the passporting, but there is nothing stopping national, international, global. There's nothing stopping people all over the place from passporting together. So yeah, it does depend on what you need. It's just one part of the software that what we've done, we've tried to make it so that the software's got a lot of tools for people and a lot of time banks might not necessarily use all of everything on there, but it's all there in case you need it, kind of thing.
Ian, can I just ask a question?
Yes, you can.
So in Plymouth, we don't actually use the brokering system, which might seem odd. Because our outreach workers actually kind of input the exchanges themselves, it's not kind of let out to the actual individual members. So would that be a problem?
There is a way around it, because you can manage offers and requests for other people.
Yeah.
So you might need to, you might need to sort of like go in as that person to respond to an offer or request. So you'd have to have sort of like all of the logins available. But the simple thing is, if you have some sort of ID and then you have a complex but standard password for all of your members, then of course you can just log in as them and sort of like then just respond to it in all of the ways that you want.
Yeah, because we obviously, so we're Time Bank Southwest. In Plymouth we have Time Bank Southwest, but we have 8 time banks throughout the city. So therefore, would that work with us passporting to, say, from Efford to Whitley, so to speak, so 2 different areas passporting? Does that make sense?
I'd have to look at how you're set up. I mean, you are totally independent time banks, are you?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd have to look at how that was set up to be able to give you a sensible answer. I'd say that there's ways to do it. You could actually, as I say, log in as that particular person on your time bank, and then do all of the exchange details and things like that.
Right.
That'll be the best way off the top of my head.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bear
with me for 1 second.
Yes, Ethan, it's Bobo again. I would like to ask one more question. I saw 4 buttons on Just Rapid that you sold. One of the buttons is called Group with 3 people here. I would like to load how the groups operate in the exchange system.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll cover, because that's not part of the passporting thing, I'll cover that at the end. So, and then I'll go through groups. So I'll cover that again in a moment at the end of the session, because it's, to be honest, it's not part of the passporting thing. So, but I'm going to do just very, very briefly. I'm actually going to, I'm logged in as me now, so I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new offer or request. I'm going to be requesting some help. Title is going to be help with Excel, so quick description. So I'm just going to minimize the faces again. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just setting up Okay, starts. Actually, I'll leave all of those as default. Estimated 2 hours, units required 1. Okay, so, and as I can see here, I'm going to put that on a, make it so that it's a passported exchange. By default, that is always off. So by default, any offer or request that is created is not a passported exchange. The user, sorry, the member has the ultimate authority to say, yes, make it one. And it's so basically it fails safe. So if you don't do it, it won't broadcast it. You know, you have to physically say, yes, I want to do it to the software. So there we go. Oh, it says this request requires approval. So I'm just going to have to, I didn't, darn, I'm going to choose one that doesn't require approval. So somebody's been using this system and they've actually set that to request. So I'm going to create a new one. Let's just do offering help again. Yeah, offering help. DIY gardening, activity, lawn mowing. I can do lawn mowing, 2 hours there, that's fine. Right, again, I'm going to make it a passported offer. Oh, somebody set them all to require approval. So I'm just going to quickly log out for a second. Exchanges. No, not exchanges, sorry, offers and requests. That's what I'm after. As you can see, it's been a few months since I've messed around with the software, so I'm a little bit rusty. So those are the two that I've just created. So I'm going to approve those. So that's the other thing is if they do require approval, the other time bank cannot see them until you have said yes to the approval process. So it's another security part. So if you have members or specific exchanges that require approval, then you can't go ahead and passport until the broker says yes. So I'm just going to go back in as me member. So let's have a look at my offers and requests. So basically I've put 2 offers and requests that have now been passported. And I'm just a little bit worried that my machine is running incredibly slow again. But what I can do is jump to the other page. So this is the other time bank. So I can actually have a look at the offers and requests that are available on there. And of course I've timed out on that. It's other time bank. So I'm logging into this one. Offers and requests. And you can see the ones I've just done, help with Excel and lawn mowing available, can be seen here as well. And as you can see, they do have the links on them. If I click on the image, then I can see the public fronted details for that particular person, but that is the only things that you can see from it. So yeah, so this can now be seen, and from this one, I can actually send them a message. So with the passporting, you can actually send a message to members of the other time bank from the exchange details. So if I go back to the other time bank again, so that's basically it with there. So if I just quickly go to my account, my messages, I don't know how many I've got in here. So you've got one here that we just had, help with Excel. And so that's actually from the person on the other time bank, and as per normal, I can just reply to that. So yeah, so all the messages in that, but once the exchange has been agreed and done, then they can actually go ahead and complete it. So that's the side for the members as well. Any questions on the member side from anybody?
So Ian, presumably the kind of the debits and the credits, do they happen in the usual way?
Yeah, they work in the usual way. It does the debit on one time bank and the credit on the other time bank.
Okay.
So, and the time bank that controls the exchange is the time bank where it was originally created. So that is the time bank that broker has the ability to delete it, modify it in the usual way. If the other time bank needs to, they would have to get in touch with that particular broker. That way, that time bank is always aware of any changes that are going on to its data. So just having a quick look at all of these. I've got too many exchanges on there. So yeah, so that's how that works. Any other questions? Okie dokie, that's fine. Give me 2 seconds just to think something through here. Yep, okay, so if there's no other questions on that, that is basically everything to do with time banking that we really need to know, without sort of like bogging people down in loads of complex things, which are basically would take too long for one demo and would just be really confusing. This one's really just the fundamentals of it, of how to set it up and how to do it.
Here, do your time banks have conversion problems? Like, do everybody just treat an hour as a credit? Is there any exception? So can the passporting?
There are no exceptions. An hour in one time bank is the same as an hour in another time bank. You can do fractions of a time bank. You can do quarter of an hour or half an hour, but it's always the same between time banks. So if you give 1 hour from one time bank, the other time bank will always receive that. Yeah, it's like, people, they don't experience an hour different to anybody else in real life. So it's the same on the software.
Oh, that made passporting much easier with less
Absolutely,
friction.
Yeah.
And my second question is, so when this debit and credit is done, so as the request was completed, so both of the accounts are instantly updated. So
yes, they are. Yeah. As soon as someone clicks that this has been completed option, literally as soon as it goes from confirmed to complete, that is when the hours are actually exchanged.
So do everybody use the same platform? Are there some exceptions that the time banks use an offline model?
There are various other bits of software out there, and we have supported them in the past as well. There was the Time and Talents, which a few people still use, but that's based in America, and there's a few issues we have with GDPR, with American-based stuff, and there is a fee involved in that one. For some really, really large organizations, we do have, oh, I'm going to go numb on this one. So John, can you help me? What's the name of the other software that we
What Made Open?
Made Open? Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So there's that one as well. But generally, time banks will either use ours or, you know, they'll do their own thing. We did have one time bank that was looking at getting some students to write some software, but that didn't go anywhere because, to be honest, once you start picking under the surface, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that, you know, you have to A, understand, and B, be able to work into code. So yeah, we've done our own fair share of bits of software for this. You know, the only reason we get rid of the old ones is because they are old and no longer viable because of change of languages and the actual languages themselves no longer being supported. Because I think the first online software that we had ran in something called Perl, but that they stopped upgrading that in 2012, I think it was, and then most of our servers actually pulled it in about 2016. So, you know, we couldn't keep it going because the infrastructure was no longer there to support it. So that's why we moved on to a new piece of software. You know, we don't create something, get everybody involved in it, and then abandon it. And that's not what we do. I mean, when we came to this one, we had a massive rollout where we actually transferred data from other bits of software to this particular database. So yeah, you know, we do support these things. You know, it's not a fly-by-night thing. You know, this one's been around, what, 5 years now, John?
Yes. So, yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So from its, you know, we were beta testing it 5 years ago. So, you know, it's been around a while. It's settled down. I mean, you know, we do keep developing it, or our developers keep updating it. So, you know, it's not just here and that's it. You know, it does actually grow as time goes on.
So we've got 15 minutes left. Does anyone have any further questions for Ira on passporting before we answer Bobo's query on groups?
Yes, I have one more question on the passporting. I saw that it is the web page format. Are there any apps on the passporting system?
Any apps on the passporting system?
Yes.
Oh, kind of. I know the developers were writing an app for the members to use. So basically that should still incorporate all of the passporting side of things because it still treats it the same way. So yeah, that I would say the app, if and when it comes out, will have the ability to do the passporting side of things. I mean, I know it was going into beta testing, and we did try and get was it 2 or 3 different time banks to get members involved to try and, you know, do the beta testing on it, and they were all eager for it, but they weren't willing to actually test it or anything. So I think it's kind of stalled at that stage at the moment. I'd have to have a word with the developers and see where we've gone from there. But yeah, the app, once it comes out, should actually be able to do that. Yes. Any other questions on passporting? Actually, I'm going to stop sharing. No, I'll leave my share on for now. Okay, if there are no more questions on that, I will just quickly go over the group exchanges. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. So I'm now logging in as administrator on the demo time bank, and we have one here. This is the button you were talking about, isn't it, Bobo? Okay, so yeah, if we go into there, yes. What group exchanges is it's the ability to have a one-to-many exchange. So a bit like this this particular situation we're in at the moment, where I'm teaching and I have multiple people who are coming to hear me go on and on. In this particular case, it's a case of, you know, if this was a time bank exchange, then each of you would be paying an hour and I would be receiving an hour of credit. So it would be difficult to actually do it sort of like, say, I got to do an exchange with John, then I've got to do an exchange with Max, then I've got to do an exchange with Bobo, all the way down. And then it would also be a case of, well, how much do I get for that? Do I get an hour from everybody? So this is just an easy way of doing that. So what we do is we create a new exchange, and just like the other ways, you can actually create it here. So we're just going to do, or no, we're going to do advice and guidance. Other advice and guidance, title, and group exchange on passporting in Toll 2. And I'm lazy, I will always put the same thing in the description. You have to put something in the description. I'm going to put today's date. It was for an hour, and I'm actually going to complete the exchange. What you can do is you can actually just limit it to specific groups within your time bank, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave that open. So now I'm going to do create. So what I've done there is I've actually created the exchange. If you'll notice, I haven't actually put any members in yet. All we've done is we have an empty exchange with nobody in it. So, but the thing is, we needed to create that before we can say, put all of these different people in. So then what we can do is the person giving time. So I'm going to put that down as GBUK demo. So all of the people who are receiving, so I'm actually going to just do a search for loads of Ians. And as you can see on this particular one, I can select multiple people, all the different test accounts I've done. So once I've done that, I can then add the selected members to the group exchange. So basically we've got one person doing the teaching and 4 people who are doing receiving. So then I can add those to the group, and then it goes through. So that's actually created the exchange, and it's put all of those people in it now. So there's one more phase that we need to go through. Because people aren't robots and not everybody turns up at the same time, you can actually change the hours here that people are. So if somebody came in half an hour late, then you could put the actual hours as 30 minutes instead of 1 hour, or half an hour rather, 0.5 of an hour. So you can actually edit the individual ones of these. And what you can also do is if you missed somebody out, you can actually add somebody else. And then add them to the group. Again, it lists them all there, so you can then edit that. So, excuse me, as I actually did a load of prep work as well, what I can do is I can go in here and edit this and say the actual hours. Well, I did an hour's worth of prep as well, so I can actually save that now. And as you can see on that exchange now, I have actually got 2 hours to my name because I'm doing the presenting on it. So there we go. And then if we just click, well, we can actually go back to the list now. And there it is, the one that we've done. And there you go. So that's how it all works. Is that okay? Or do you have any more questions on group exchanges? Actually, if I just quickly go to my account, my exchanges.
Ian, with that exchange, where did the hours come from? So was it would the people be giving you the hour?
No, basically, because it would be a case of, you know, there's a dissimilar amount of hours either side. what actually happens behind the scenes is it creates individual exchanges for everybody, but tagged with the same exchange number. And then all of the hours actually come from the community pot or go to the community pot. So I get my 2 hours for doing the prep work and everything from the community pot. And then everybody that's at the meeting will actually, their hours will go to the community pot. See, if you look here, it's got here.
Thank you.
This is the passporting one. So I gave my time, but it says I have received my time from the community pot, which is why it's always good to keep the group exchange bit in the beginning of there. So that, because otherwise, you know, if there's 4 people in the meeting, do I get a quarter of an hour from that person and the rest goes to the community pot, and a quarter of an hour from that person goes to the community pot? So what it's done is it actually just says, you know, everything gets exchanged with the community pot. So that way it doesn't matter if I did lots of our prep work and then nobody turned up, I'd still get my hour for doing the prep work, as it were.
And can only the broker set those group exchanges up?
At the moment, yes. I know the developers were getting it so that you could actually have trusted members to be able to create them as well, but I don't know how far they've got with that. They were hoping to get it done recently, but I think there's been a bit of a delay on it. I've tried to get in touch with the developers because unfortunately I'm no longer part of TV UK, but I did try and get in touch with the developers and see if they'd got any further with it, but I haven't had a chance to get in touch with them because they've been sort of like really busy at the moment doing various other things as well.
We can kind of look into that because I think we've had a number of new time banks developing at the moment that want to use the kind of group format, really to bring groups together under one time bank. So yeah, I mean, it's a good way of developing the hours within the community pot that you can then share out with people who may require more support at any given time.
Yeah, I know we did do a lot of work on it, so it is quite a long way through development. We did talk about the process of it as well. So what we're going to have is sort of like an intermediate stage between member and broker, so that if you get promoted to that one, the only difference will be currently would be the creating of group exchanges. And the broker will have the ability to say this person can or this person can't. But yeah, it is something that isn't on the cards, and I'm hoping imminent. Oops, sorry, I just closed down the wrong thing there. My exchanges.
Okay. It's 11:57. So has anybody got any more questions for Ian? If not, then we'll bring the session to a close. But any last questions, please?
I think today sharing is very inspiring for us in Hong Kong, because at this moment we have several time banks in the city. We are very young. We are just developing time banking. So from your experience in the United Kingdom, we can really learn how to unite together people doing this passporting thing. So that the time bank can be bigger, make use of the talents of people. And I wonder, may you also share when you start this passporting thing, are there any big problems or issues that the brokers may face in your actual experience?
The only thing to do with passporting, the only thing I can think of is the fact that they can't actually do a complete exchange from start to finish. They can't say these two members exchanged if they're from different time banks. That's the only issue there is at the moment, I think. But I don't know of a way around that without sort of like breaching various data regulations. So that is something that might need to be looked at and maybe addressed in the future.
And I think it also goes back to the point you were making earlier, Ian, about the planning. So when two time banks are looking or more are looking to do this, is how will it work, and how will you address issues when they arise and before they arise? I think so everybody's clear about how it is going to operate between the time banks,
Yeah,
and clear what their responsibilities are.
Yeah, it's always good to run through a few scenarios, you know, just say what would happen if, and then say, okay, well, we can do it this way or we can do that. So you can, you know, think of some sort of like unusual scenarios and see how you would resolve them, and then sort of like get that down in writing as part of your rules for the merging, or not merging, rather the co-working.
Okay, any further questions? No. Okay. Well, thank you to Ian. It's 12 o'clock, so that's
My pleasure.
well timed. We, as I say, we have recorded this, so we will be able to share it with you and with the people that aren't here today. But thanks everybody for your time, and I hope you found it useful. And if you do want to get in contact with us about any questions that you reflect on after the session, then please do Time Breaking UK. Okay, have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks,
Take care,
Ian.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you
John.
very much for your sharing.
Thank
Okay.
you.
My pleasure.
Thank
And
you.
take care, everybody, and thank you for turning up. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.